Welcome to episode 109 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How you doing? You're at the beach house?
Live from Belmar Beach, New Jersey.
Get some rain out there yet?
It's coming. It's we got the muggies. We definitely have the muggies here. So it's hot though. It's like 98 degrees and muggy. So.
And also joining us is a brand new guest, Roger Matthews, a web designer. How you doing, Roger?
Hey, hi.
I want to welcome you to the show, and we're going to find out a little bit about you in a little bit, and we're also going to be talking about. There's some interesting discussion today. The quarterly results were announced by Apple. Probably touch upon the Capitol Hill announcements. We were trying not to go in too much depth like we did yesterday on Guy's show, and Warren hitting his head against the mic. But we will just touch upon a little bit. I really more so I want to focus on what Tim Cook had to say. Lots of news, and we'll have some other discussions about privacy and some scanning apps I had of interest. So. But first, let's. I decided to move this up instead of starting with the news. We're going to start with our new guest, Roger. You, of course, are not of course. No one knows this, but until now, is a web designer and web strategist. I guess it is. And why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about you? And of course, we know each other from the suburban Chicago Apple users, and you were a past president, and you twisted my arm to become president. I think it was now almost 12 years ago now.
Man, that was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, there you go. Rub it in. It was fun.
It was great.
Well, I appreciate you and what you do, and your interests with everything, so everybody gets to know you.
Sure. So I was a computer repair guy for about 20 years, and then I got into designing magazines, and then for the last 20 years, I've been making websites for people, helping them really realize the value of having a great website and getting it to produce leads and new business. Okay. And I help people primarily get their message across, because if you look at all the websites out there, you can look at them and say, man, these really are not all that great. But it's usually because the message doesn't entice anybody to want to read more. And so I help them starting with the message, and then I design the website and all the related stuff around it, social media and email marketing and also text marketing.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I've been up to.
All right. And you when you do website design, mobile obviously comes into play, and what types of things do you have to look? What do you look for as far as for iOS, for iPhone, and for an iPad? Make sure that the website looks pretty and looks right.
So I'm using WordPress, and WordPress used to have to run, in order to get mobile to work, you used to have to run extra plugins and different kinds of things. But I use a page builder now called Divi, D-I-V-I. And it is so fantastic because you can create your web page for the desktop and then preview it for an iPad and preview it for a phone, and just make sure that all the pieces work and adjust the different components so that everything flows perfectly. You don't have any lines that break and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely make sure that websites work on all sorts of devices. And that's really made my job a lot easier by using a page builder like Divi.
Yeah. And you inspired me to do that. So, and of course, In Touch with iOS, newly redesigned website is on Divi, and it looks really good on the iPhone for sure. So let's find a little bit out. I always ask our new guests, so let's find a little bit about what devices you have as far as, I mean, I know what you have, but what you tell everybody, you have, of course, an iPhone. Which version, what iPhone do you have?
I have a 10S, I believe. And I also have a monitor kind of like yours. It's the Apple monitor at 27-inch and a MacBook Pro.
Do you have an iPad?
I do. I've got a whole drawer full of iPads.
iPads. Okay.
Yeah. I don't use them all that much, although I shouldn't say that out loud, but especially not on this program. But I definitely I have a later iPad, and I do check things, check my websites with it. So I make sure that they're looking good on there. So
Apple Watch, Apple TV.
Apple Watch. I got into Apple Watch when you showed me yours, actually. And I thought, wow, this looks pretty fantastic. And I've found more uses for it than I could ever imagine, because it is really fantastic device. I love it.
Good. Warren, do you have any questions for Roger?
No, you should get a commission now from Apple.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, both of you. No, it sounds great. Welcome. What kind of your last full-time IT position? What type of specialty?
Well, actually, before I got into web design, which was 20 years ago, I was designing magazines, and I worked for a railroading magazine, doing all the graphics work and laying it out and all that stuff. When it's still desktop publishing was kind of coming on board then, and so I got into that, and then the company got sold, and I went on my own as a freelance magazine designer and worked for all sorts of different magazines, Dog World and Cats Magazine, all these different magazines. And it was a great experience. And then I decided, okay, the web is coming on. It's time to jump over. So it was a great, it was great to have the tech skills, the art design skills, art direction skills, and then I just applied it to the web. So it was a natural fit amongst everything I've done for about 45 years.
Yeah, and Apple really took charge around that time too, because
Right.
when I did work back then too, and it would be like everybody had PCs, and then the magazine department had Macs, because everything was just easier to do on even starting to design the magazines on the Macs were just like so much easier. I still do some work for the circulars that you get in the paper, the Sunday paper. So I support one of the big companies down here too, on a consulting basis, all Macs, because it's just drop
it's
them
beautiful.
around. So
it's awesome.
Well,
when I started, we were using Photoshop 2 version 2, and it was Quark. Quark was we were lucky, and then there was some other graphics program that you couldn't do separations or any of that for. So it was a nightmare back then trying to produce a magazine.
Well, and Roger, welcome to the show. We're going to have a lot of fun here, and we'll talk about some news. And if you've heard the show before, we'll definitely get your insights on everything we want to talk about tonight here. So
awesome.
First topic is the Apple third quarterly results. Holy cow. They did an amazing the third quarter. Never thought that it would be this good. Some of the highlights that were out there, of course, the big thing everybody's making a big deal about is the stock is going to be a 4-for-1 split. I know Warren and we made comments earlier on Mac to the Future that like your wife had says it's not a big deal. But you're getting 3 shares for 1, so you'll be getting a lot of extra shares, and brings the price back down, so more people can buy it, and then it'll probably go back up again. So I think that's a good option.
So before I asked her, I thought, wow, so everybody gets like double the amount of stock now? You're like you just made twice as much money as you did 2 minutes ago? No, they just half the value of the stock, and now you have more. So
yeah, I think the stock will go like to probably $150 a share or whatever it is, and then you get 3 shares for every one you had at the time by August 24th.
Right. So it's
I have a fair amount of shares. So
yeah, we got a few too. So it's 400. It hit 400 in aftermarket. So I guess tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so it's going to keep going up. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably at about 400% in return on my investment so far.
Oh yeah, we did pretty good. My wife, when she swapped jobs, she did some Apple stock along with Zoom, like before the pandemic, which was kind of neat too. But
Audrey, do you have any thoughts on that?
Nothing. I wish I had some stock. I don't have any stock. I stay safe and keep all my cash in the bank and just don't invest it because I'm afraid of losing it all.
Mine's
now we all wish we had more.
The option, so I can't complain. Revenue was up 10.9% year over year, which was good. It's a $1.5 trillion company, so and going higher. And the gross margins were up 12.1%. And really, let's go more so to what's about everybody's interest here, what they're listening. I can keep going, talking about all that stock stuff, but Tim Cook made a comment that what made us proud as a company is it's merely what we did, but how we did it. And I think that's pretty cool to say something like that because it is what they did. I mean, it just kept plugging along here. Their iPhone sales in May and June attributed to the stimulus because since the iPhone SE launch and lifted the shelter in place, the iPhone SE just went like gangbusters. With even all the constraints they had with supply, during the whole quarter with COVID and all that stuff. So they had all-time revenues across Apple Music, the app stores, and a lot of the other services. They showed some increased numbers. Apple TV Plus had 95 award nominations and 25 wins. That's pretty impressive for a first-year media service that they started up. And the Apple did achieve their goals of doubling their services revenue set in 2016, 6 months early. So that was good to hear. WWDC, they actually shared the numbers. 22 million unique views tuned into all the WWDC streams. So that was pretty impressive. I like that. It just keeps going on. A couple of the links we'll have in the show notes. The one, the best one actually is the one that Six Colors Jason Snell puts together. That link is in there, and it shows bar graphs. You got to have bar graphs, when we look at this stuff. But the big picture is 44% of Apple's revenue was iPhone, 11% was wearables, 22% was services, 11% on iPads, 12% Mac. So looks pretty good. Do you guys have any thoughts so far, Warren?
Yeah, I mean, they had challenges, obviously, like everybody else, but they're not Disney World. It's not something that shut them down with this pandemic. They had the supply chain issue, and they have their retail store issues where they had to close down their retail stores. So obviously, those I think was the biggest challenges they probably had during the pandemic. Other than that, I mean, people still had to work. They had to work differently. They had to get their electronics. They had to get their services. They had to get their entertainment through, Apple TV and Apple Music and Apple Arcade. The pandemic, did not hurt, tech companies as much as some of the other industries, which is good, for us techies that like to watch them do well. But yeah, I mean they didn't change too much this time around, but obviously the next year is going to be a big thing for them too, with the change of the processor on the Mac. That's going to be a big thing, and so they're focusing a lot more on on their product, I think, in this coming year than they are services, as by the sound of it. So yeah, no, it's good. I'm happy. I'm happy to see them do well.
Look at the numbers with iPad. I mean, the last two quarters were down 11 and 10%, 31% increase in iPad sales. And
Wow.
There was a shortage. Like there was right at one point there was hard to get one, and then especially I think in China it was when they had their big surge out, they couldn't get iPads when everybody was home. So I mean, as I said, when you're stuck at home and you're not going to the office has to come to you, and you got to find ways to do it. And not everybody knows how to set up a workstation at home. So sometimes an iPhone and an iPad is what you have to do. And I look at my wife, who had to do the same thing. She worked from home too. While she was home, she bought herself a new iPad AirPods Pro, a couple other I mean, it makes money. You have to set up. So yeah, it's crazy.
With the stores being closed, you would think that the online community must have come through.
Sure did, and people were buying everything online, and that's what made a big difference. The $6.6 billion revenue from iPad versus 4.4 last quarter, so it just keeps going. iPhone revenue was a little down, but who's going to cry about 26.4 billion? I mean, and the services sector slight dip, but 13.2 billion. And it was about 15% revenue change over last quarter. I'm sorry. Wearables still keeps that trends going. So I mean, we just keep talking about everything in here, and the total revenue was $59.7 billion. That was revenue, and profit was 11.3. So yeah, anybody, if you want to geek out, look at the numbers. I guess so. We'll have a link in the show notes. 6colors.com article. They always do great graphs on everything you want to know about the quarterly results on Apple. So, a couple other things that came out. Apple did confirm, and Steve Cook did confirm during the session that Steve Cook. Oh my God, what am I saying? Tim Cook. Thank you for correcting me. That this year's iPhone 12 models will be a little bit late. Actually, the CFO, Luca Mastrisi, I can't give you bad pronunciations today. He said they expect it to be a little later than usual because iPhones usually get released in September or late September. It looks like it's probably going to project it to like mid to late October. It looks like. What do you think, Warren?
Well, there's usually usually they announce it in September, and it's kind of goes into like you could order it 2 or 3 weeks after that. So I'm not sure like how far back that's going to go from there, but yeah, I mean, I expected that. If it's a little bit delayed, and certainly if it's only a month delayed, it's not gonna kill anything. It's not gonna. I think everything else is just going to go as planned after that. I think iOS 14 will be released on time. So despite
before iPhone 12 comes out.
Yeah, before the 12 comes out. They're still working on the betas. The betas are good. So, but Apple's funny like that too. They'll say it's delayed, and then, coming up to it, it's not. Sometimes they'll say, oh, we got it, and I'll just release it out. So I wouldn't be 100% sure it's going to be delayed, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Roger, any thoughts?
It's going to be really interesting to see if people are, I don't know what the kind of prices are going to be on the 12. It seemed like they were really pushing the price, pushing it to the edge. I don't know whether most people are going to flip over for the 12. We'll see, I guess.
Well, us early adopters. So you got two guys who love upgrading every year.
I get it.
In the case of Warren, every 5 minutes, but that's another story.
It's going to be a rough month waiting for that upgrade. I'll tell you that much.
There you go. Well, I'll do it because I have the iPhone upgrade program, so it's no sweat off. That's no sweat for me. So I'm definitely, and I just want to stay on top of it. I like having the new models. So
right.
So yeah, definitely going to be interesting. As you mentioned, Apple Services segment, it did see a double-digit growth in the quarter, which is awesome to see. News Plus that's starting to pick up with things that they added just the audio playback in News Plus now, and they have the daily podcast that recaps the news each day, which was a big improvement. And then of course TV Plus is doing great. They're getting all these great movies and shows, and that really has helped them out a lot. And Arcade is actually holding its own for those of you who are gamers. So you've got some good packages. I'm still disappointed that they haven't come up with a bundle yet. And I know, especially News Plus, because a lot of these folks in you, Roger, working with magazines, that they're razor thin profits as it is anyway. What did you think of that? What do you think of News Plus? And I don't know if you're a subscriber or not, but
I'm not a subscriber yet. I was just thinking about it today that this probably would be fun to subscribe for a while anyway, and it looked interesting to me. Apple has a little bit of a unique look and feel to it, which I kind of liked. We'll see. What.
I think they have a trial, so you'll be able to at least check it out. And
Yeah.
it is good. I've had it for a bit. I stopped it for a while, but I put it back on. You have it, Warren, or no?
Yeah, we have one.
That's right. Your wife, Wall Street Journal.
For the Wall Street, but yeah, so I use it too. And the problem, they're still struggling a little bit from what you read here and there with News Plus, and I think they're not going to offer a bundle until they see a clearer
That's not good
line in there. Yeah.
And then next story, I want to touch upon the big four that were on Capitol Hill yesterday as we recorded this, but I don't want to spend a whole long period of time on it because this is not a political show. And but I think it's got some points, especially specifically for Apple. I definitely wanted to bring up those. I'll talk about Jeff Bezos, Sundar Pichai, and Mark Zuckerberg. Briefly, Jeff Bezos had said that he claimed that he can't guarantee that Amazon will never use data gathered to make compelling products, and that his company might have violated that policy. What a surprise there. And same thing with Google. They kept giving different answers. I don't want to get into those guys. Mark Zuckerberg, they say, he downplays all of what they're doing, but come on, they're monopolizing everything. But really, what I want to focus on was Tim Cook, and I think some of the 5 key quotes that came out of it. I'm got an article to the Mac Observer, and we can touch upon each one of these. Apple has opened the gate wider, and said, unsurprisingly, Tim Cook had keen to stand by the previous used defense that Apple treats all developers the same and offers them the same opportunity. If Apple is the gatekeeper, what have we done to open the gate wider? He said. All right, yeah, they charge 30. They take 30%, and there's 2.5 million developers out there. Roger, you're kind of a developer. You work with websites. What is your thoughts on the 30% of developers?
Yeah, 30%. I think for the distribution factor, and I mean, you guys have got your podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you're in a way taking advantage of the Apple platform because it's getting out to the world. It's tremendous distribution. So, I think it's something you have to have.
Yep. Warren?
Yeah. There's no number for it. I mean, if it was 20%, people would be upset about the 20%. If it was 10%, people would be upset about the 10%. So, I mean, you gotta come up with a number, and so all these, you hear a couple things going on that it's been 30%. It's always been 30%, and then an article came out today that says Amazon may have gotten like a sweetheart deal where they offered 15% or something like that for a couple things. Are they playing favorites? Can somebody like Amazon afford it, or independent developers not? For the most part, I think I think Tim Cook was pushing that. From what I'm reading, he said, "Listen, we have the guidelines. The guidelines are out there. We stick to the guidelines. Here are the guidelines. This is our guidelines. This is what we do." And as long as he just keeps saying, "This is our process," they could charge 80%. That it doesn't matter. It's this is our process. Everybody pays 80%, and that's what it is.
And he also told them the App Store created an economic miracle, quote unquote. It's an economic miracle that the App Store allowed a person in their basement to start a company and serve 170 countries in the world.
Yeah, and it's true. And I made this point yesterday with a guy with the bookstore, and the bookstore, people want to sell the books. I know Amazon and Apple take a cut of that. But before that, people had to get in their car and travel to the local Barnes and Nobles across the country and try to get their book in the store. It's a whole different system, and that infrastructure. These companies are taking on a lot of the work that's needed to get this stuff in these stores. So you gotta pay them for it. It's not just Barnes and Nobles, they need the space for it, but you need the infrastructure, you need the app store, you need the bookstore. Now that's what they're trying to do with the arcade too. That's what they're trying to do in News Plus. You need this basic, and not even a wall garden, but you need this basic system to present it to your customers in the best way that they can, and that's what they get paid for.
Yep. Roger, you have any thoughts?
Well, I think definitely, it's back to the distribution again. Everybody wants to sell at a premium. I want to sell my websites at a premium, so I try to hold my price. I don't like to discount for anything. So the more value you believe in what you think something is worth, then the rest of the world will believe it as well. So it's all about your own inclinations about it and your own thoughts about it. So
okay. He highlighted education. They were very proud of what they've done in education, and Apple's been an education and company for a long time, and they're serving the market in a significant way. Not much else we could say about that. People are working to move physical to virtual, and that's where we're at right now with education. That's a whole nother controversial topic with teachers, so I won't go down that road. And the last thing was keeping kids safe by removing some of the parental control apps. I guess that was a bit of a controversy because they removed all the parental control apps out of the App Store because they now have their in-house screen time feature. And they were worried about the safety of kids, so that's what they did. They did that. So did you have any thoughts about that, Warren?
I think that also had to do with they were pushing out using the profiles with some of that stuff too. So he kind of used that as a little bit more of a push that they were able to do that too, which is true. I mean, the companies, in order to do screen time, you had to get access to some things that normal things on iOS don't let you do. So you have to install a corporate profile or a management profile to allow to do that. And supposedly you could only do that if you're a company and follow the rules. And so they didn't do that. So, part of me is like, maybe they should let people try again, because I don't think the screen time app is that great. I think, there are certainly better options out there, or there were for parental controls. So I think either they need to bump that up or let other people in.
Yep. Did you have anything to add to that, Roger?
So especially with COVID now, where the whole world is just shifting from, schools being, kids being in school, and now they're at home all the time. And, especially as, parents having to go back to work, they're going to be kids, that are going to be on their own a lot, maybe. So it's probably an important topic right now to resolve.
All right, moving on here. This was in phonearena.com. NBC Universal's Peacock has added 10 million subscribers since launch. The streaming wars have officially commenced in the United States. Established players like Netflix and Amazon Prime, Hulu have met with intense competition because you got Disney Plus and HBO Max, which we've talked about, and in recent months, of course, Apple TV Plus. So then when Peacock jumped into the ring, they went off to a fantastic start. I think a lot of one of the big things is with Peacock is if you're a Comcast Xfinity subscriber, you get it for free anyway. So I don't know if that comes into play as far as how many subscribers they have. But the content is pretty decent. I mean, there's a lot of great shows on there so far. Roger, have you explored any of this so far?
I really haven't too much. My son has Apple Plus, and he loves it. He's totally sold on it. That's about all he has now. So that's what he's watching. But I don't actually watch that much TV, so except a little bit of Netflix here and there. So got to stay off that.
How about you, Warren?
I should probably install it. I heard good things. I'm hearing good things about it, so maybe I'll check it out.
I mean, there's a ton of great shows, all the NBC content. In fact, when I started exploring it the other night, they have some old CBS shows like 2.5 Men, the entire series, and I mean, that's a goofy show as it was anyway. But it was out for 12 seasons.
I liked it.
Oh no, I every time I watched it. But I mean, they've grabbed a lot of different old TV shows like Everybody Loves Raymond and all the other CBS stuff. So,
it's better than the Plex service. Is what you're saying.
Like we talked about last week.
I heard somebody else. I forgot another podcast said the same thing that you said too. It was like they were laughing about it. Yeah.
I mean, yay! We're all excited. It's free TV. Oh yeah.
It was like
some foreign country.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes about unique content. Like everybody loves Raymond and 2.5 Men have all of a sudden appeared. They're all over the place. They're on Sling. They're on YouTube TV. They're on. I think maybe they're on Prime or Netflix. So the same content is showing up everywhere. So these companies that are doing unique content, really grab the viewers, and they're really looking for some unique content to watch nowadays.
Absolutely. Next story. This was in Mac Rumors. Some Apple Watch Series 5 owners are seeing issues with inconsistent battery levels and random shutdowns. Some Apple Watch Series 5 owners have been experiencing battery issues when their device is causing random shutdowns when the Apple Watch is reporting at very high battery levels. It seems like it's an inconsistent report. You have a Series 5 watch. Warren, have you experienced any issues?
I'm on a beta, so I would imagine that.
Oh yeah,
actually the battery's been pretty good on the beta, so maybe this might be one of those times where I'm better off than the production people, but who knows? It's not too bad.
I'm still on Series 4, and the battery life is still great for me. Raj, which do you have Series 4?
I have a 5, and it's just fantastic. I love every minute with it, and it's just I use it for so many things I didn't even realize, and I was a late adopter to it, and I'm so glad I got one. I'm really thrilled with it.
Okay, well, it's probably some people are experiencing this, and they've got to make it a big deal because it's happening. So, this article's on iDrop News. Watch out, iCloud. Google brings 15 gigs of free storage to iOS users.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's get excited here. Google now adding automatic backups to their Google One for Android users. Okay, we're not Android users here, right? But the company did announce that it is rolling out this backup solution to iOS owners as well. So it isn't going to cost you anything. You get 15 gigs of backup no matter what, but it's on Google. So if you question privacy, then you may not like this. But I've had a Google Photos account forever, and I've been backing up some photos on there. It's nice to have another place to back things up. So interesting. Google's starting to adopt more and more iOS stuff and try to compete against itself, honestly, with the Android. Roger, what do you think?
So I love Google Drive. I create so many accounts for every time I do a website. It's at least 10 accounts I think I create. And of course, I know we're going to talk about 1Password a little later, but oh my gosh, it's I offload all my backups to a Google Drive, and the 15 gig is just about right for what I do.
I think the 5 gig is a joke.
Yeah.
It honestly is. I mean, I don't understand why Apple can afford to give up 10 extra gigs of space on their servers just to help.
Yeah, totally.
Not make people have to buy the low end plan. I mean, granted, I have the 200 gig plan, so and I almost fill it up. So, I agree with you. Warren, you have any thoughts?
Just thinking about all the anti-Google people. I mean,
Yeah, right.
It is, with the tech support that we do, we sometimes, we see it, and there's a lot of people that today I helped somebody with their pictures today on their iCloud, and just some people don't even understand the concept of it, of having to pay to get their backups. How do I get in the cloud? Do I have to do that? So, there's a lot of people who are cheap who just won't pay for the iCloud storage, and there's a lot of people who by principle won't do it, which I get to, and there's a lot of people who just don't even know to do it. So, when people start talking about it on the internet and what to do, a lot of times, people will say use Google Cloud, use Google Photos. And this is just one of the things. It's free, Is it the most private thing in the world? No. Is it like Google Photos stores your pictures at lower quality? But you know what? Sometimes it saves these people, and sometimes that's worth your privacy. So, I'm not going to use it because I got my iCloud, but it's good.
I'll try it out just because I want to see what it does.
Yeah, I mean, all like Amazon even has it too. If you have Amazon Prime, there's a way Amazon could save things too, and somebody's cell phone. I think Verizon used to have it too. Verizon used to give you 15 gigs of free storage to back up things on your phone too. If you remember that, I kind of remember something that they put out there. But yeah, people like free.
Yes, they do. Well, but for those of you who don't back up and you don't want to pay for it, shame on you, because if you lose your photos, don't come crying to us.
Do something.
Okay. All right, let's move on to some of the topics we were going to talk about this week. The first one we always talk about is beta, because Warren lives on the edge. If you don't know this, Roger, Warren puts beta on all of his production devices. It doesn't matter.
What a brave man.
iPhone, Mac. He's got beta on everything. He lives.
Life is boring. Life is boring. You got to do something.
So,
but not much to report. I mean,
they didn't release a new beta, so you're on beta 3. I mean, I've got it, and as people know, I keep talking about this on my iPhone 10R that I have as my backup device. So at least I get to look at iOS 14. But anything to report this week?
No, I mean, so this was the first week in a while that the beta production weekly cycle goes. So it's been beta releases one week, and the next week is going to be production releases updates. So there was nothing this week, which pretty much is telling us that I think, and we cross our fingers at this point, that Mac OS 10.15 and iOS 13 is pretty much getting their forks put in them, because I think they're going to stop that development. And then I would expect Tuesday we're going to get a fresh batch. We'll see how it goes. Not much changing between the betas. They all actually, the bugs don't even seem to change. The few bugs I have don't seem to get better in the weeks, but it's usable. And as I said with the watch has been fine. The battery has been okay. The phone is really not that bad either. So see how it goes.
Have you, Roger? Have you ever dabbled in beta?
I occasionally, but I've escaped without having anything critical happen. So, yeah, no, I don't do too much with it, especially not now.
Yeah.
So,
as I tell people, Warren won't tell people this. Do not put beta software on your production device.
All right.
Fine, just do it. No problems. Just come on.
So we always have fun with that. So, all right. I carried this over from last week because we did talk about it at the end of the show last week about password managers. And I know, Roger, you're a big 1Password user. We've talked about it for years. You and I have both done presentations that are at the Apple user group about the 1Password. And I kept the link in the show notes from the Wirecutter article from New York Times talking about 1Password and the uses of it. And I'd like to find out from you, Roger, since you're a new guest. So, first off, do you have the standalone app, or are you doing the 1Password for Teams?
I have the standalone app.
Okay. So and you back it up with iCloud and
Yes.
you back it
Yes.
up.
Right.
And what are some of the uses you find that are very helpful for 1Password?
So I was talking about earlier creating maybe 10, 15 accounts for every single website. So, if you create a Gmail account, and then, of course, that links to a YouTube account, and then a MailChimp account. Of course, you have to confirm and double opt-in, confirm all these accounts. And so I usually create a Gmail account for everybody because I don't want to get into their personal email. So I create kind of a dummy Gmail account and then just build off of them from there. But the password process, I mean, talk about a universal problem for the world.
Yeah.
And this is a solution that has come about for all of us. And it's a tremendous solution to a worldwide problem, really. I mean, passwords are a nightmare for everybody. I was just talking to somebody earlier about passwords, and he said, yeah, they're using sticky notes on everything on his computer. I said, okay, hold it, stop. Don't tell me anymore.
Warren and I can both attest to sticky notes on monitors and computers.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
I work in
A lot of time.
So, I don't know if you've ever been able to compare it to other ones out there like LastPass and and others. But I keep migrating back to 1Password. I think it's a great application. Keeps things really secure. Some of the things that stand out, like the first thing is you can go through and browse and make sure you get rid of your crummy passwords. We always use crummy passwords. A lot of people do, and a lot of times you just want to go through and check it. The 1Password gives you the option and being able to do that, finding things very easily. Warren, did you say you use 1Password, or are you using something else?
I tried it. I wanted to migrate the family over to it, and I tried it. And I don't know if it was 1Password or the other one, or one of the other ones, but whichever one I tried was the wrong one because it didn't work for me. So I kind of gave up on it, but maybe it was the wrong one, and I'll go again. My password situation is a mess, and so is my family. So it's like a whole rework that I'll have to do that. So that's my next project, probably to tackle that one.
Yeah, one of the great things about 1Password for Teams is it sits across all your devices, and you can maintain separate 1Password vaults for each of your family members too, as well as cross access each of the passwords, like you and your wife. You could set that up, and the vault works really well. I mean, it allows you to keep your password separate from your wife's or your kids or your son in your case, and it really makes it a lot easier to manage. I mean, I was pretty impressed when they did that. I decided to go to the Teams, which is a subscription. I think it's like $50 or $60 a year, which is a fair. I don't mind paying it because I like to support 1Password, and I think they're a really good company.
They've really showed us a lot over the years. I mean, they have updated that thing consistently, continued to develop the platform year after year after year. I was sorry to see them kind of go to the subscription model because they used to be a little easier, a little nicer to just pay once, but everybody's doing that now.
But they still let you do it. I mean, you're still doing it. They don't advertise it, but you still can get a standalone.
Right. I think wasn't the deal with the subscription model, if you had the latest operating system on your Mac, they pulled back the browser version of it, and they wouldn't let you have that unless you were on the subscription model, right? Wasn't that the thing with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I was told, I have not tried it in a while, having the standalone. But I think you've got it. So you've got it.
Right. It seemed to me like they forced you into getting into version 7, or they wouldn't support having the install of the browser extension, which is almost critical. I mean, that's half the program.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the most convenient part of the thing.
I can't imagine they would do that. I don't know for a fact, but I don't think they did. Are you on version 7 now, or?
I am. I had to. They weren't going to do it. I thought, oh, I can't do without this. So when I jumped from 6 to 7, I had to go to the subscription model, and
you did jump over.
I had to, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So maybe that's the case. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought that you had said otherwise.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess they're at a point where they decided, because they were letting it go for a while. I guess I haven't revisited that in a while. So,
right.
So that was interesting. The feature they have called Watchtower is very interesting. It keeps an eye on password audits. It's like basically giving you a self audit and auditing all your passwords, and tells you what's bad, what's good, who's supporting two-factor authentication. Does this website have a vulnerability? It's great to have something like that tells you this. And I know these other password managers do the same thing, but I think it's really well done.
And especially since, everybody uses, I mean, you start to think about all the people that use the same password across every single device or every single website. They're all using the same password. Their bank is the same password as everything else. So it's good that they have something to prompt them to change their behavior and do something a little different. And there's nothing better than letting 1Password generate a long, secure password. It's really fantastic, as opposed to somebody that writes their dog's name or whatever, their kid's name.
Well, you have to think about it too with passwords. You always, in my case, I always have my iPhone with me. I'll always be on my Mac. So it isn't going to be a place where I would have to remember typing in my password. And if I did, the only thing is you're not going to be doing it in a computer that's not yours.
Right.
The only downfall, obviously, of having those really complex passwords is you got to, what was that? I got to type it in,
Yeah.
But it's okay. Right. What do you think? Is having this going to make life easier for you?
We'll see. I'll give you a real time follow up when I decide to do it.
I'd like to hear, because right now you guys aren't using anything.
No. Nope. Just brains, which is failing every day.
You got the spreadsheet with the password of a password.
It's just probably the same password I used since I was since in my AOL days. So
you've got mail.
It might actually be the same password.
Yeah.
So no, I will put that as a project of mine, and I will follow up on that. So the one that seriously. So 1Password is a way to go. The one to go.
It's worth it.
You got it.
The other great thing is I use this all the time is secure notes. I keep track of all my memberships, my documents, software licenses. I track that. My credit cards have that in there. And my rewards account numbers. You want to remember those. So you've got all that in there, and it's all right in one place. Oh, I got to look up my membership number for Avis or whatever. You just go in there, you can get it. It's right there. As long as you put it in there and you're doing a good job maintaining it, that's where it becomes a major benefit right there.
And software licenses, oh my gosh, software licenses, you can print out your receipt that they email to you and drag it in as a PDF, and it stays right in your software license section of 1Password. So you've always got it. And when you upgrade and you have to re-enter something, you're good.
This is definitely. I'm looking in the article, but I just even looking at this. My TSA pre-check number. I don't know. I'm not going to remember that. My passport. You actually could scan a copy of your passport. So if you were in trouble and you needed your passport at least to show you have one and at least have the record of it. Like your VIN number for your car, insurance. I mean, it's just endless of what you can put in here. A lot of people use this to store this information, and it's secure. And you have one password to remember, and that's the one that you use to sign in. And it also has the protection with the what was that? I'm scroll back here. The master password, and then if you don't remember that master password, you have another backup that is generated if you save that. It's like putting it in a safe place if you had to go back.
The first aid kit, they call it, right?
couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And it has a generator. So that's what's huge. You don't have to think of a password. You just have it generate the password, and
Nice.
it works. So,
And their support is amazing. I helped somebody get on 1Password just a couple weeks ago, and he had multiple accounts, and he had an old version way back, and he was trying to convert it to a new version, and it was just a mess. I couldn't even fix it. I had to have him call support, and they straightened him right out. So,
the company is Agile Bits. That's the name of the company. They're a Canadian-based company, actually. I have known somebody who is actually one of the developers who actually lives in the Chicago area, that I've talked to in the past, and he's one of the designers and developers, and so talk about it all the time with him whenever I see him. And that's a great company, and can't say more. And I'm not paid, as I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm not being paid to say great things about 1Password. I talk about it because I enjoy it. Even they would give Apple user groups discounts, so you get a discount. And I know that's what we end up you and I all the time, Roger, would talk about that. Hey, you can get 1Password, you get this discount, and
right.
makes you want to join an Apple user group, right?
Yeah, everybody should belong.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts, Warren, before we move on?
Nope. Sounds good.
All right. Next topic I wanted to bring up is scanning apps. Warren, what scanning app do you use, or do you use scanning apps on your iPhone?
I do. I actually bought one.
Okay.
A while ago called, I don't know if I bought it, but I use it. It's called Genius Scan. It's been around for a while. And it's great. I have a few, but this is the one I always go to. It's called Genius Scan, and it basically is very, actually this is a free one, which is good. And basically you could take a scan and you could save it right to the Files app now in your on your iOS device. You can AirDrop whatever you scanned. If you pay a little bit more, it lets you save to a bit more places like Google Drive and things like that. But I found the free version works. And I use it all the time. And I am the hero when my wife says, can you scan this? Can you scan that? I'm like, you could do the same thing. You got the phone. No, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, you point the phone to it and you take the picture. No, I can't do it. So I'm the scan guy.
So you stay exclusive to just that one?
Yeah, it works. I know there's a few others. I know you could do it with the Notes app too. I actually have I have one that we were talking about yesterday, but I have one of the ScanSnap scanners that actually has a app as well that you could use it, in conjunction, but you don't really need it. So essentially, with the I have my ScanSnap set up on my Mac where I could scan to Google Drive. So it scans right to my Google Drive, and then on my phone I take a scan, and I could use the Files app just to put that scan right in the Google Drives, and does everything I need. It's easy.
Yeah, in fact, Microsoft OneNote, if you have OneNote, it has a built-in scanning feature in the app.
Yeah,
because I use that for work, and which is great because I can scan something real quick and uploads it right to my corporate network, and I don't have to go play games to try to get it there. So,
yep. And they're all good. Basically they'll take the picture and then they'll try to align it and make it look like a scan, and it works fine.
Yeah. Roger, is there a scanning app that you use?
I think you turned me on to this, Dave. I think it's called Turbo Scan.
Okay.
And I was probably at the iPhone SIG or something, but Turbo Scan does a beautiful job of creating scans. It's really quite nice. I like it. And I think you also maybe you've taught me all these things about Scannable. I think that's another one, or Scan Life. I'm not sure what that is.
Ones that stand out that you use frequently, or
well, the Turbo Scan, definitely. I got a whole bunch of scans for that. It creates a PDF.
Your pick.
yeah, right.
My app, and I've always been promoting this one is by Readle. It's called Scanner Pro because they're the makers of PDF Expert. I think it's a great app.
Yeah.
It actually, if you look, I've got the level link in the show notes for all these apps, of course. The App Store, it's the number 2 in the business category on the App Store, so it's very popular. And Readle makes just some great apps. They really do. And it's got a lot of editor's choice, New York Times, et cetera, et cetera. I just find it to be really easy to scan. I mean, great scanning. You can extract text very well. Removing distortions. It's getting really high stars. I mean, it's got 4.9 out of 5 stars. There's like almost 158,000 reviews of this app. So I think it's a great one. It does have in-app purchase. I think you can get some fax capabilities if you need to fax something. But it's a flat $3.99, which is a steal, honestly.
Wow.
Other scanning apps that are out there. A lot of them want to charge. And one thing I will bring up, and I was going to say something about it, and I'm going to say something really negative about it, is Adobe. Adobe has, yeah, exactly. Adobe has a scan app, and I said, "Oh, this is great." And I'm reading through some articles and seeing they have this great scanning app that you can scan. And I tried it out. Oh, this is great! I'm scanning the document. It's like, oh, this works great. Guess what? Your information's hijacked, because the only way you're going to be able to get that out of Adobe Scan is purchasing a scanning pack from Adobe. It's all in the Adobe ecosystem. You have to pay a subscription.
They have it forever now.
And
it's theirs.
Yeah. Well, luckily I scanned something I could care less about. So, so I put that in the show notes, but just to be aware of that. Yeah, a lot of people are saying great things about Adobe Scan. Yeah, it works great. I mean, it does scan well, but you're locked in that environment. So stay away from that. But I think we gave everybody some great some great choices for scanning for on your iOS device. The reason I brought that up is because there's a lot of chatter about scanners in themselves, and obviously this isn't going to replace, like, if you're doing legal documents and you need to have a really super accurate scan of something. You know, like if you use a all-in-one printer scanner, fax, all that, that's going to probably be better for you if you need to get the sheet through there. And of course, they got some really high-quality scanners that are out there too. You have a ScanSnap, you said, Warren. So those scanners do scan things very well. But in a pinch, I think this works great. It's something you need scanned, you got it in your hand. I mean, that's what's amazing about the iPhone. It really is. You pretty much has replaced many things. That's another one that's done. So, all right, let's go to move on. I wanted to talk a little bit about Macstock. Last week, Macstock, virtual Macstock happened, and we had an absolute blast doing it. And Warren, you got to jump in and see some of it this past week.
Yes.
What'd you think?
No, from what I saw, I really liked it. And I actually got an email today from their newsletter saying that we could watch the pieces we missed. I'm sure you'll talk about that. Yep. Mike, it's Mike, right?
Mike Potter, yeah.
Yeah. He said, in his little email out there, that it went really better than he thought. He couldn't believe he pulled it off. And I agree. I think it was really cool. I mean, I would have paid for it. And, he should maybe consider doing this a couple times a year. Why not?
He really wants to get Macstock 2021 back live. I mean,
still live, but there's nothing wrong with doing a little supplemental thing like this here and there, which is I think would be kind of neat. Yeah.
What did Mike stream it with? What Zoom was it, or live stream or something?
Yeah, to give some of the back end of it all. He used Studio to stream the video streams of all the videos. And he had that on a solid internet connection because he has the worst luck with internet up in Woodstock. So he had 3 internet connections, and one of them was solid for the video stream. That's the most important thing. And then what happened was, what we did was we had like what was called a speakers lounge, and we created it in Jitsi, JITSI, which is a open source video conferencing service. It's jitsi.org. Put that in the show notes. And we had a lounge, and it was all the speakers would come in because we were going to have live Q&A after each video played. So then I was the co-host, which I was proud to be doing that. And we had each speaker come in, or our speakers, if they decided to want to come and hang out, which was actually they did, which was fun. So while the videos were playing, I didn't get to watch them very much because I was focusing on all the chat and people asking questions, as well as we were having our backstage chatter with all the other speakers. So it was a lot of fun, us being able to do that. So that went on for the throughout the day. And then towards the end, everybody, for those of you who don't know Barry Falk, he's been on the show before. He was the creator of the Mac barbecue from 5 years ago. He reached out to me on he texted me and he said I said, well, gosh, you got to come into this chat room because I know Mike would really appreciate seeing you. And so sure enough, he came in. He was driving, so he was on his way to a Pokemon event, so it was important. So, but it was great to see Barry, and he came into the chat, and we had Chuck Joyner, Allison Sheridan spoke, as well as Josh Wrench, and a couple potential guests will be coming on. Brittany Smith was really great. She did a great presentation on the cognitive science behind shortcuts, and she's an ADHD and technology coach out in Portland, Oregon. And she's also, I didn't realize, knows iPhones pretty well, and an Apple enthusiast, obviously. So she was a lot of fun. Mike Schmitz was on there. He talked about playing with ideas. He's definitely, we've had him at our Apple user group before, so it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. So we've got links in the show notes. If you had signed up for the event and you got to see it, like Warren said, he got an email today and said it has the link. You'll be able to watch it. Unfortunately, it can't be shared out if you hadn't signed up. But if you paid for a ticket, you automatically get that as well. But in addition to that, you'll also be able to get the digital pass and be able to watch those videos. Mike's going to have those edited by speaker, so you'll be able to do that. That's how he's done it in past years. So I have a link in the show notes for that, as well as I have a link to buy a T-shirt or a mug because he's got a really cool logo this year, and you can purchase that. They're not too terribly expensive. I have to keep my mug collection going. I got the last 5, so I've already ordered number 6. So that should be coming. So it was a lot of fun, and just I can't say enough about Macstock, and I look forward to what's going to happen for next year. So, all right, I think we talked through a lot of stuff tonight, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm glad you were back, Roger. Why don't you tell everybody about you as far as where they can find you, as well as you've told me you're and that's why I invited you here too as well. And then one reason, but I wanted you to be able to have an experience on a podcast, but that you're thinking about starting a podcast. So tell us about that, and then tell us where everybody can find you.
Sure. So I'm at developwebsites.com, and I'm starting a new podcast with a friend of mine, and we're talking about communication. And so often people say something and they think the other party understands what you said, but they really don't. And so there's a miscommunication that happens. And so we're giving tips on how to communicate more effectively, both interpersonally and in across the internet, on websites particularly. And, that's kind of been my thrust of websites is making sure that your business message is really clear to people so that they can get it in 5 seconds or less. Sure. So that's really important. And it's really a valuable thing. The name of the podcast is going to be, So What Is Your Point?
Great name.
Yeah. And of course, I'm doing a website for that as well. So it will launch on August 18th.
All right. Well, we're going to have you on again, and you could tell us about it. And I'd love to hear if there's any angles with iOS and iPhone and all that stuff, and with your site designing it and all that. And we definitely could have you.
I'll be calling you for some great tips, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned a lot being a podcaster here. So
right.
And Warren, I know we find you at Mac to the Future, right?
Yes, Mac to the Future Facebook group here. Something we do with a guy on Wednesday nights at 8 Eastern time. Maybe I'll even make it to Macstock if it ever actually happens next year. So we'll see how it goes.
Chicago by then.
Yeah, it's getting close. It's happening.
So, all right. Well, thanks for both of you for being here. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, or you can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, including Stitcher and Spotify and all those. But better yet, just go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Thanks, Warren, and thanks, Roger, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you all again soon.